Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty wild. How AI is taking customer research, a process that used to be this months-long slog, and crushing it down into just a matter of days.
So let's just ask the question right out of the gate. Can you really build a complete business strategy in just 2 weeks? I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, we're going to look at a real-world case study where a team had no choice. They were facing this massive industry shift where, all the old rules were just thrown out the window. The pressure? Yeah, it was on.
All right, so let's set the scene. Our story kicks off with a client in the auto parts industry. And look, this isn't just about selling a few spark plugs on a website. It's way more complex. We're talking about a marketplace that has to juggle the needs of like 3 totally different groups. The weekend DIYer tinkering in their garage, the professional mechanic who needs parts now, and the giant sellers who move huge volumes of stock. It's a really tricky balancing act.
And this right here, this is the core of the problem. Check this out. Only 7%, of this huge market was actually digitized. That means 93% was still old school. For a company trying to build for the future, that's not just a challenge, it's a massive threat. And not just to them, but to all those traditional mechanics and shops who are at risk of being left behind.
Okay, and here's the kicker. The market was changing so fast, they were given an insane deadline. Just 2 weeks. 2 weeks for the entire research and analysis phase. I mean, think about that. A job that would normally take months, maybe even half a year. Going the old school route? No way. It was completely off the table.
So you're probably wondering, how in the world do they even attempt this? Well, they didn't just wing it. They came up with a game plan, a super structured 2-week research sprint.
So their plan was broken into 2 parts. The first week was just a mad dash for data. I'm talking workshops, client docs, customer interviews, everything they could get their hands on. Then, sprint number 2 was all about making sense of it. Just deep, focused analysis to churn out actual, usable business model scenarios. There was absolutely no time to mess around.
Right, so this is the part you've been waiting for. How did they actually analyze so much stuff so fast? Well, the secret sauce, the real magic here, was this powerful, iterative workflow they created. And it had AI right at the heart of it all.
They gave it a cool name, circular mode. And think of it less like a one-way street and more like a conversation. It's not just about dumping a bunch of data into an AI and hoping for the best. The AI does the grunt work, sifting through mountains of data way faster than any human could. But then, the human researchers jump in, adding their real-world knowledge and pointing the AI in the right direction. And here's the cool part. With every single loop, the whole system just gets smarter and smarter.
And this is what that loop looks like in practice. Step 1. The AI takes a first pass at everything. Transcripts, interviews, you name it. Step 2. The humans, the researchers, they look at what the AI came up with and add their own insights, their own context, things the AI couldn't possibly know. Step 3. They feed all that new info back into the model. And step 4, you just repeat. Each time you're digging deeper and the results get more and more dialed in. It's this beautiful cycle of machine power and human smarts.
Okay, so let's peek under the hood. What specific tech were they using? What was in this AI researcher's toolbox? It's not about one single magical piece of software, but a really clever stack of tools all working together.
It really came down to 3 key tools that formed the backbone of this whole operation. First, you had Fireflies.ai. Think of it as the ultimate note-taker, capturing and transcribing every single word from meetings and interviews. Then, for the heavy lifting, they turned to a duo of Google's AI tools, Gemini Advanced for the really deep analysis, and Google AI Studio for the more creative, what-if kind of work.
And this is super important. They used different tools for different jobs. It wasn't one size fits all. Gemini Advanced was like their super smart analyst. Its job was to dig deep into the customer data. What are their pain points? What are they trying to achieve? On the other hand, Google AI Studio was like their creative strategist. They use it to brainstorm, to generate a bunch of different scenarios, and to really think outside the box.
So what kind of fuel were they pumping into these AI engines? Well, pretty much everything. And I mean everything. We're talking workshop recordings, transcripts, PDFs, but also the messy stuff. Data from those big collaborative whiteboards, Miro boards.
They even fed it completed value proposition canvases and photos and notes from actually being on site with customers. All of this different data gave the AI a much richer, more complete picture of what was really going on.
All right, so after all that, this intense, AI-fueled 2-week sprint, what was the result? What did they actually walk away with? Let's just say the outcome was seriously impressive.
Okay, so get this. In just 2 weeks,
And we're talking a tiny team here, putting in less than 80 hours of total work.
They were able to build out 3 distinct
And highly efficient new business models. I mean, they delivered a full-blown strategic analysis for a super complex market. A few years ago, that result would have been pure science fiction. It's just staggering when you think about it.
But here's a really crucial point from the consultant who led this, Beata Mosór. He said it himself. The tech wasn't the whole story. This only worked because of the super tight collaboration with the client's team. Why? Because the AI is great at analyzing data, but it can't go out and see how a mechanic actually uses a tool in a busy garage. That's the human part, the on-the-ground context, that made all the difference.
So when you boil it all down, what does this all mean? What does this kind of approach unlock? Well, 3 big things. First, obviously, is speed. We're talking about shrinking research time from months down to days. Second is depth. The AI can see patterns and find insights in huge, messy data sets that we humans would just miss. And all that leads to the third thing, a massive competitive advantage. It lets businesses move and adapt at the speed the market demands today.
and that really brings us to the final question, the one I want to leave you with. You just saw what a small team pulled off in 2 weeks for a really complex, old-school industry. So what could an approach like this unlock for you? What big, thorny strategic questions could you finally answer? The possibilities, honestly, are kind of mind-bending.